All right, it is 6 p.m. on November 17th. We are here at the Woodford County Central Office. I'm going to call to order our regular school board meeting. Roll call, we have all board members here in person. And I'm going to ask our Huntertown students to stand up and lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. It's right here behind my right. Thank you very much. You did a great job. All right. I do have one proposed amendment to the agenda. We're going to move the regular agenda item A, approve audit report, audit presentation, up to after our Huntertown Elementary School presentation, just so we can get our auditor out of here a little earlier. Are there any other proposed amendments? All right. So we will move into our recognitions. Miss Bailey.
Good evening, everyone. We have 4 recognitions tonight. So if you are here to be recognized, either I or someone else will read a brief summary of what you've done and what you're being recognized for. And when you hear your name at the end, or when I finish that, or the person finishes that, and we start clapping, you can come up and shake Mr. Brickler's hand, and then we'll get a group picture with the board, okay? So board members, if you would like to assume your position. Okay, our first recognition tonight, let me give this to you, Mr. Brickler, is for our 2025 Superintendent's Holiday Card Contest winner. This is something we do every year. It's a beloved tradition. Students of all ages can submit artwork, and then the central office has the very difficult task of voting on which one is going to be our holiday card. So this year, I would like to congratulate, and he can come on up, second grader at Southside Elementary, Benson Adams. Awesome. Perfect. And then Mr. Brickler and Benson, you'll head to the middle. And here was Benson's artwork. So it says, Happy Holidays from the Hive, and it's a cute little snow globe with little yellow jackets everywhere. Love it. Okay, next I'll introduce Mr. LaRue, social studies teacher at Woodford County High School and golf coach. He will be doing the next recognition.
Well, again, I am Douglas LaRue, first year girls golf coach. When I started this year, I had absolutely no idea what I was getting myself into. Even our greatest golfer showed up late to the season because she had a forensics camp where she solved the murder and GSA. When this young lady showed up, and my first year coaching golf, you don't realize how much grit is required for these young ladies to push carts up and down mountains and hills. Even by the time we got to the state tournament, our first round rained out, so the first couple holes soaked in the rain, but she persevered. This talented young lady, not just a phenomenal student athlete, a great example of what it means to be the gold standard of Woodford County. Miss Abigail Kane, please come up and receive your award.
And we can pause for Bill back there. Okay, our next recognition. Miss Addison Moore. Addie is wonderful. She is a wonderful student, she is a wonderful friend, and she is a wonderful athlete. She has many accolades and many impressive feats in running, as you'll hear in just a minute. But the thing we are most proud of is who she is as a person. She's very humble and kind and loves her friends and her classmates so well. But let me get into those accolades real fast. So, Addison Moore is the KHSAA Class 3 state champion in cross country for the 3rd consecutive year. She broke the state cross country record. She set the cross country record that she had previously broken, and it was set 8 years ago by Collins High School. Addie is currently being considered as a candidate for Gatorade's Cross Country Kentucky Female Athlete of the Year, an honor that she has already won in the previous 2 seasons. Lastly, Addie will race at the Nike Cross Country Regional Championships on November 22nd in Cary, North Carolina. And depending on how she does in this race, she will qualify for the Nike Cross Country National Championships in Oregon in December. Congratulations, Addie Moore. All right, our final recognition tonight is our Chief Academic Officer, Mr. Ryan Asher. Mr. Asher is being recognized today for his exceptional dedication and commitment to education in Kentucky. It is with great pleasure that we acknowledge Ryan's efforts in strengthening the quality of education for our students, an endeavor that has earned him the prestigious Values-Driven Award of Excellence from Cognia earlier this fall. This award is a testament to the fact that Ryan doesn't just meet standards, he embodies the values that drive true educational improvement. His work has made a tangible, positive difference in competency-based education in Woodford County. He is leading the work in bringing the portrait of a learner from the abstract to concrete, and being asked to share that work on a national and state level by speaking at conferences and hosting state workshops to explain our work and journey. Please join me in congratulating Mr. Ryan Asher on receiving the Cognia Values-Driven Award of Excellence. Thank you, Ryan, for leading with such distinction and commitment.
And next we have our superintendent's remarks. Dr. Jones?
Well, good evening, everyone. Make sure that my presentation comes up. First off, I just want to thank our board for their patience in the transition to we're transitioning a couple different key positions, and they've been super patient with me and super supportive, and just understanding we needed to add things at the last minute, or just asking questions and really supporting me and our district, and I just want to thank them for that. There we go. A couple things I wanted to highlight for this month. Again, our theme is, and our statement is, all voices are united in building the next generation of excellence in Woodford County. And of course, you can see that I was able to see Addie Moore beat her own record that she set. And let me tell you all something. She was far out front. I mean, it was like there was no one between her and the rest of the pack. And it was so incredible to watch. And she's so humble. Also, we had our first attendance award winner, employee, Mr. John Kelly. He won $250. He's a wonderful bus driver we have. And every month, our employees now get entered. If they have perfect attendance for that month, they get entered into a drawing sponsored by American Fidelity for $250. And we were excited for him to be that winner. And then I also wanted to feature Safe Harbor. I was over there for one of their challenges. And this particular challenge, you can see the mold that they created, but they were in small groups. They had a challenge to create the monsters that we have to overcome, and we have to tackle the adversity we have to tackle in life. And they did such a great job coming together and really naming those things that they've been able to overcome, and that we all have to overcome. So I just wanted to feature that. Also wanted to mention a couple key resources for families. Be on the lookout. We are about to start a book club. Our mental health leaders in the district and schools are going to be starting a book club for our parents, our caregivers, called The Anxious Generation. It's a follow-up to what we've been talking about with bullying, cyberbullying, and just awareness around really what key things we can do as parents and caregivers to help our own children and their mental health and well-being. And then the other thing, we are really engaged in our food drive this month. And I'm sure you've seen lots of advertisement around that, but I just wanted to remind everyone that we really are trying as a district and a community to really support our food banks. And we also have one here at Central Office now that we've started for immediate needs when families can't always get into other facilities, other services. And so thank you all. We've had a really huge outpouring of support around our food drive and around those resources. So thank you. A few shout outs. I wanted to thank each of our schools for their Veterans Day programs that celebrate so well our veterans and what they mean to us as a community. And we had some incredible, some really great programs, and many of them student-led. And so I just really want to thank the teachers and the students and the leaders who really did such a great job with Veterans Day. Also a shout out to our softball team. I was at a family event for our migrant families last night, and our softball team was there serving our families and really making sure that we had resources and that we made all of our families feel welcome, and they did such a great job. And last, I just want to give a shout out to Judge Kay. Don't know if you've seen this, but we've already seen just this month alone, so many partnerships that he has established with our teachers across the district for project-based learning opportunities, the middle school, and I believe we also had Northside in the fiscal court this week. And I'm just going to tell you, that's exceptional. Like, I'm extremely thankful for our judge executive and the partnership that we have with him. Again, just wanted to mention a few of the themes from rounding, our strategic visioning, focus groups. We are seeing an improvement in student voice, students feeling like they have input into things that occur in the classroom and how we learn, and given opportunities to have choice. Also, our students and our families really express thankfulness and appreciation for our school resource officers, as well as our mental health supports that underpin our safety. And then 3 systems we're still working on, as you know. We're working on our onboarding, human resources, and payroll, that whole system to make that more effective. And then we're also, of course, still working on getting some strong systems in place with our budget. Also want to mention, once again, we do have a budget transparency tab on the website. I really recommend that you go look at all of those resources there. Anything that the budget committee looks at, those things are posted there as well for anyone in our community to look at as well. This week, our budget committee is meeting. We're looking at trends and considerations for the upcoming budget. And then last, truly looking at a new superintendent training in November. I was in Hardin County, and the training was November 12th. We looked at their career and technology center, and they also talked a lot about those key communication strategies that we as superintendents really need to use in order to engage all of our stakeholders. So just wanted to share a little bit about that, and I think that's all I have.
All right, thank you. And we'll move on to our good news report. And Ms. Springate, I'll start with you.
Thank you. Very proud to be a Woodford County School Board member with all the awards and accolades tonight. Very impressive. And I know that we will have a wonderful presentation coming up. I did want to ask about the test data that's going to be released soon. Hoping that we have good news there and we can get some sort of email from the superintendent about those results as soon as possible. Thank you.
Dr. Gould.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to see Huntertown here. Huntertown's one of our home schools, so I'm really excited to see all the students. It's exciting. So there's a couple things that I wanted to give a shout out. One is to the middle school and the high school cheerleaders on their nationals bid at Disney, how great of a performance they put on this past week. And that is really exciting that both our middle school and our high school are going to actually get to go and represent us this year. So big things happening, of course, with our cheerleading program as always. There is something that's going on at the middle school that I wanted to highlight in case anybody's interested in contributing. But I also think that it's really important for us to highlight the innovative ways that some of our teachers are really going above and beyond and creating new opportunities for all of our students. Of course, that happens on the daily basis across our district. But Miss Drake at the high school, she shared on her Facebook page, and I talked to her a little bit about this. The high school, I meant the middle school. She just said, our middle school students are launching a weekly printed newsletter that will be shared with all students and staff every Monday. It will include upcoming school events and sports highlights, a teacher spotlight interview, a community member feature, and a special section with jokes, riddles, or puzzles. And it's going to be a student-led club, and they'll write and design and distribute every issue. But she needs some assistance with that. She's looking for donations for just sheets of paper, like a ream of paper. So she's hoping that businesses across our community might contribute, or potentially other members of our Woodford County community, parents, caregivers, and those of us who can. So I just think that that's a really nice way to grab a bunch of different individuals who may be interested in publishing and journalism and support that interest that they may have and that creativity. Also want to highlight a story I heard coming out of Safe Harbor where some teachers were thinking of innovative behavioral ways to encourage their students to participate in their weekly assignments and have great behavior and that sort of thing, and just pulling money from their own pockets to really be able to support those efforts. So I just wanted to applaud them and highlight the good work that our schools are doing in multiple ways.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Chairman, I may have needed to ask you for your permission to do my good news, but my good news tonight is you. He was elected chairman unanimously in January of 2025, and immediately he was faced with the situation of a superintendent retiring, and he had to work with the superintendent regarding any and all transitional needs that might come up and we should know about. He also had to begin the process which is a difficult process. It is laid out by statute. He had to begin the process for the hiring of a new superintendent, which led to the employment of Dr. Jones. He has worked closely with her to ensure she has everything she needs to be successful. And that is, I don't want to say it's difficult, but it's a process. I can attest that being the chairman of the Board of Education is very difficult from time to time. And Adam has handled it each and every meeting with professionalism and fairness to all the members. And we heard about the presentation earlier, the word gold standard was used a lot. I think Adam has shown the gold standard in being chairman. I just want to thank you.
Thank you very much. That's
Thank you.
Very much appreciated
Thank
and
you.
unexpected. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, Ms. Wilson. Ms. McCowan.
That's hard to follow up. But I'm just going to say, with Thanksgiving approaching, I hope all of our students and our families and our staff have a wonderful Thanksgiving, have a great few days off, and get to spend time together and have a good meal and just kind of relax and think about things that we can be thankful for here in Woodford County. So I hope everybody has a great holiday.
Ms. McEntee.
Okay, I'm last this time. I usually go first. This is different. But with, now we're going into winter season with sports, I just kind of wanted to highlight all of the sports teams because we have so many amazing athletes and coaches that get our athletes that, amazing path that they follow. I mean, the football team is still alive and kicking, which that's amazing. They're playing the quarterfinals on Friday, which is we haven't been there in a while. So that's really exciting, especially as a senior. Like this is really cool for me. But I just kind of wanted to shout out all of them because all of our athletes went so far this year, and I think it's amazing. Like I said, the boys football team is playing the quarterfinals on Friday. The cross country team, like we said, Addie Moore won state for the girls. Both boys and girls soccer teams went to the region semifinals, and the volleyball team went to the district finals. So I think it's really cool to highlight, all of our amazing athletes. And I think sometimes the coaches don't get enough recognition either because they get them there. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of our Woodford County athletes and coaches.
Thank you very much. For my part, really just all of the activities that the teachers and the staff put on for the students during the holidays. I know my daughters come home excited every time there's something special going on, a themed party or a holiday activity. And so I just want to give a big shout out and a thank you to all of the staff members that make school fun for our students as well. The food drives that have been going on, I took one of my daughters to Kroger and we were just grocery shopping and I saw a bunch of high school students at the entrances with printed out grocery lists for things that they were looking for. And so what Dr. Gould mentioned earlier, just being creative with these types of charitable actions is really important and helpful. And I mean, it was very nice to just have a list and pick things off of it. And that goes to a really good cause. So I just want to thank everybody for their creativity and work. All right. Now I'm very excited to bring up our Huntertown Elementary School presentation. Mr. Wilson, you want to lead that effort? I'm pretty sure he has some really good assistants that are going to come up and join him.
All right, good afternoon. Nope. All right, good afternoon. My name is Ryan Wilson. I'm the principal at Huntertown. And I also have Amanda Nugent, who's our administrative dean of students. And we're here to present to you all tonight. Originally, I had about probably 15 to 20 slides that I had ready to go, and I was joking around with Mr. Brickler. I got there this morning, and I just started deleting one after another because you can look behind me, you see a lot of amazing young faces. One of the many reasons that makes Huntertown an amazing place is because of these students, and then behind them, you'll see a lot of our supportive parents, which again makes one of the things that makes Huntertown such an amazing place. And then in addition to that, you'll see a couple of our teachers here to support our students and have really kind of, when this opportunity presented itself, it wasn't real difficult. I asked Ms. Nugent and said, hey, do you mind to talk to a couple of our teachers? She said, yeah, no problem, I got it. And they immediately jumped on board. So made my job super easy. So what you're gonna get from myself and Ms. Nugent tonight is just kind of a quick synopsis of what our focus is at Huntertown this year, kind of what we're trying to achieve and accomplish. And then I'm gonna turn it over to the stars of the show. So.
this down. And so I just found out that I was going to even talk, so thanks to Mr. Wilson for including me. But I was just going to show you kind of our quote that we have really taken on this year. This comes from Ron Clark Academy, which we have had several staff members go to this year. And that is, if you're going to be here, be here. And to us, that quote really means if you're going to be in our building, working there, then that means not only being physically present every day in our building, but it means being emotionally, mentally committed to the work that we're doing at Huntertown. And we have 3 pictures there that kind of represent our goals. The first one is a picture of the North Star. Huntertown is in a wonderful place. Like, we're doing good things, but we can always get better. And so there's always room for growth. So, you know, eventually we want to just keep on improving, and eventually we want to be a school that people look to come to see all the great things we're doing. The middle picture represents a green light culture for us. So that is something that we're really trying to do, letting teachers, you know, if you have a grand idea that is outside the box, we're pretty much saying go for it, try it. Do it, because most of the time it's things that kids are going to love, and that's what we're there for, is for the kids to love coming to school and getting to try new things. And then last but not least is a pack or a group of Wildcats, because we're going to have fun doing it and we're going to work together as a group. And Mr. Wilson wanted me to share, I found a cool fact about Wildcats, since we're the Wildcats. Does anybody know what a group of Wildcats is called? It is a destruction of Wildcats. So we're going to be a destruction of Wildcats, coming through doing big things. So that's what we have going on.
So in order to make this happen, we kind of focused on 6 things throughout the school year, but our main focus was on the 3 with the check marks. And again, a lot of this encompassing our green light culture and that Northern Star, and just having fun doing what we're doing. So over the summer, we had a group of about, I think it was 6 teachers attend a PBL training. And so we're kind of trying to get that up off the ground, and you're going to hear a little bit about that today. Just kind of baby steps, not trying to overwhelm our teachers, but just really trying to get our project-based learning up and off the ground. So we focused on that. Recently, we had a teacher-led PD where we did some planning, trying to get some ideas circulating throughout our building. Continued to emphasize our exhibitions of learning and our student-led conferences, and then also tying everything that we do, trying to make sure we tie that back to our portrait of learner, including what we do with our PBI structures and our behaviors. We also try to tie that back into our portrait of learner. Our 3 main focuses this year come with deeper learning, just making sure our students have opportunities to high cognitive engagement. And again, you're going to see a little bit of that tonight. We've really put an emphasis with the instructional design cycle with Mr. Hundley, trying to make sure that our lessons are fully developed and appropriate for our students. And then again, lastly, we've been putting a heavy emphasis on our PBIS and Ron Clark structures. You know, again, we spent a lot of time this summer with our staff to really make sure that we had a consistent and cohesive structure in place so that it was equitable for all students throughout our building. And so, you know, in addition, we've put an emphasis on our soft skills. You know, we put an emphasis on being respectful and responsible and safe. But this year, one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to be more intentional about teaching our kids how to be polite and respectful young men and women. And we do things like teach them how to shake hands, teach them how to greet people in the mornings. And being outside in the mornings, I've noticed a lot of improvement with our young men and women. You know, I've got a couple gentlemen up here that every morning they get out of that car, first thing they do is they walk up and they tell me good morning, they shake my hand. It's one of the greatest things, one of the greatest ways to start the morning. So just proud of the work that we're doing. Like Ms. Nugent said, I really feel like we're in a very, very good place to really kind of take off and do some big things. And tonight you're going to see a little bit of some of those big things that are happening at Huntertown. So I'm going to, first of all, hit the right button. And I'm going to first turn it over to Ms. Stakelin, who's going to go over or introduce our 3rd graders.
You bringing up your destruction of Wildcats?
Okay. I am not going to do any talking. They're going to do. Are y'all in the right order?
Yep.
Good evening. We are third graders from Ms. Strickland's class. My name is Anay Cobain. This presentation will show our project-based learning.
Hi. Hi, my name is Mia Holmes. This year we will have pen pals from a third grade class in Pennsylvania. We will write letters to each other all year long to share about our lives, our school, and the things we are learning. At the beginning of the project, we learned how to write friendly letters, and we read books that were written as letters. In social studies, we learned about the United States Postal Service and how mail travels from one place to another. This project will help us become better writers, make new friends, and learn about another community that is different from ours.
Hello, my name is Kason Royalty. We explored the question, how do people use words to express themselves? By reading books that were written as letters, these stories showed how people shared their thoughts, feelings, and ideas through writing. We saw how letters could help us connect with others and tell our own stories in special ways. Hi, my name is Ellie Butler, Woodford County Public Library. They donated mentor books to help us learn how to write great letters and even gave us stamps so we can mail our letters to our pen pals in Pennsylvania.
Hi, my name is Nora Black. A local mail carrier came to talk to our grade about what the post office does for our community. We learned how mail is sorted, delivered, and how important it is for helping people stay connected. It was so cool to hear about what happens before our letters reach to our pen pals in Pennsylvania.
Hi, I'm Nevaeh Bellamy. Our pen pals are a third grade class at Park School right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We will write letters to them all year long to share about our lives and what we are learning. At the end of the year, we will get to have a Google Meet so we can finally see and talk to our pen pals in person.
I really liked the letters that we are doing because it is very fun. The class has been starting to write our second pen pal letter. You might be wondering if we could ever meet. Well, we won't be able to travel and meet them in person because they live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we live in Versailles, Kentucky. But we are planning to meet them on a Google Meet later this year. I think this has been very interesting because I got to learn about my pen pal. Once we are done, it will be very exciting and fun to wait until they send their letters. In the beginning, I was so excited about our pen pals, and when I found out who my pen pal was, it was so much fun. The letters and being, the letters, the reason why I think it is fun is because I like writing letters, and being able to talk just by writing letters is so cool. I get to ask them questions about things. Example, I could ask them if they play a sport. I definitely think the next class should do this. Thank you for listening to me.
My amazing learning journey at Huntertown Elementary. My learning journey has been amazing because my teacher is doing a bunch of stuff with us together and we are learning a lot of new things in class. We've been doing a lot of social studies lately and it's been really fun. Let me tell you why. Lately, we've been starting to write a second pen pal letter. You're probably wondering, what is a pen pal? A pen pal is someone you write to and you write back in response. We are starting to write down some ideas for our paper and are turning them into sentences. We are sending out letters to them in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and they've been told that at the end of the year we get to do a meeting with them on our computer. I'm super excited about my next letter that I'm writing, and I can't help but wonder what they will write in response next. It is really fun. We also talked to a mailman who told us how the post office works. We learned how mail is delivered, and then we got to take home coloring papers and color them. We also got to learn how our letters went through the process to get to Pennsylvania. Since then, I've been inspired to write more letters, so my mom got me these cards, and I got to send them to a whole lot of different places. That just inspired me to send even more letters. I just wonder, when will it arrive? I was super excited that I got to help at the board meeting and a little nervous, so I'm excited that I got to do this and continue to grow as a student and a person. These are just a few examples of why my learning journey at Huntertown Elementary has been amazing and all the great things my teacher is teaching me.
Here are some things I'm doing in school. One thing I'm doing in school is I'm about to write my second pen pal letter. Another thing I'm learning is about the U.S. Postal Service. When Mr. Charlie came, I felt like it would inspire me to be a mailman. And he was really kind, and he was a little nervous, I could tell. But when he started, he was like, this is not that bad. So that told me it's okay to be scared. When we started our pen pal letters, Miss Boogie at the library donated stamps, and parents donated stationery. And that makes you feel good and makes you know that there are good people in this world. One way I felt about my pen pal letters was that I was scared of what my pen pals were going to say. But what they said made me feel better. I want to say thank you for letting me be a part of this. It's a big deal.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you so much.
Do you need pictures with the? You're gonna get one. If somebody's fine.
Adam and Dr. Jones, why don't you get up there with them? We got, yeah, can we?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Excellent job, third grade. And now we will turn it over to Miss Gooseland, one of our fifth grade teachers, and her students.
Hi, my name is Harrison Huber, and this is Huntertown Elementary 5th grade ELA presentation. From Me to We, a collection of community stories as told through the eyes of a 5th grader. Our journey as Kentucky's authors. This year, our learning began with a real challenge. Could we capture the real stories of ourselves and turn them into a book that matters? Through our PBL project, we became Kentucky's authors. Our book, From Me to We, will be displayed at the Fraser History Museum, Tiny Bird Books, and the Woodford County Public Library. Every story started with an interview, a conversation, and a piece of history worth of preserving. The launch. On Wednesday, October 8th, we launched our PBL storytelling with a visit from Becca Lowe, the owner of Tiny Bird Books here in Versailles. She showed us how writing and storytelling connect to the real world by sharing how authors find shape and publish meaningful stories. Her visit helped us understand how our interviews, writing matter outside the classroom, and guided us as we explored our driving question. What makes a story powerful enough to capture a reader's attention and keep history alive?
Hi, I'm Sam Foster. Guided by historian expert learning that matters,
Partnering with the Fraser History Museum's 120 Cool Kentucky Counties project, we interviewed friends and family to uncover authentic for sale stories. Historians Megan Shane and Mick Sullivan from the Fraser History Museum guided us on the understanding how real Kentucky stories are preserved, shared, and published. Kentucky published authors in the making. Throughout this project, we learned how to research, communicate, and write like real authors. We created our own collection of stories, and the top 5 will even be published in the Fraser Weekly magazine, which 35,000 people read.
Hi, my name is Katie Devine. The writing process. Once we gathered stories from our interviews, our next challenge, and it was a big challenge, was to make sense of everything and turn it into powerful writing. We asked permission, listened carefully, and treated every story with respect. By synthesizing what we learned, we drafted, revised, and published our writing. This project empowered us to take ownership of our learning while celebrating and amplifying the voices of people in our community.
Hi, my name is Cooper Chisholm, and I'm reading an excerpt from my dad's journey to Team USA. It all started like any normal day until my dad got news that would change everything. He had been invited to be part of the very first Little League USA baseball program, not just anywhere, but in Taiwan. Dad was very excited, but he was also nervous. He had never traveled across the world before. Traveling that far for baseball sounded unbelievable, and the team had one big goal: to win. What happened next became a story worth telling.
I'm Sam Crawford, and this is an excerpt from my story, Who Needs a Kindergarten? In 1967, my grandmother, Jean Crawford, became part of something new and important. St. Leo's School was starting its very first kindergarten, and it needed people ready to build it from the ground up. Little did anyone know, this new start would become something meaningful for many years to come. I believe that my grandmother's story is important to hear because it shows that kindness and determination are very important to have. She reminds us that ordinary people can create extraordinary change when they choose to help others. Her legacy at St. Leo continues to inspire families, students, and teachers, proving that even small acts of love can shape a whole community for generations.
The Woodford County Public Library. The Woodford County Public Library is supporting our work by purchasing a copy of our book, From Me to We, adding it to their catalog, and placing it into a circulation alongside other local authors. They will also display our book in their special events case so our community can see and celebrate our work.
Hi, my name is Emma Young. The power of community partners, better together. Our community partners played a huge role in our project. They showed us that learning does not just happen in the classroom. It happens when people share their stories, their knowledge, and their time. The Fraser History Museum, Tiny Bird Books, and Woodford County Public Library all supported our work in meaningful ways. These partnerships helped us feel like real authors and reminded us how powerful it is when a community believes in its students. Coming soon. We are excited to share that our book, From Me to We, will tentatively be ready to purchase by the holidays. We hope you enjoy reading our stories as we enjoyed writing them. Happy holidays from Miss Gooseland's 5th grade ELA students.
Is it all right if we do a picture real quick?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you, fifth graders. Amazing job.
I have to say, I love Miss Gooseland and all of our Huntertown teachers, but this project has been amazing. Like, I mean, I was tearing up just listening to it. Always innovative. Thank you for all that you do.
Thanks so much.
Best part. All right. So next we are going to go into, can I have a motion to approve our audit report, audit presentation?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan, and we'll open it up for the presentation by Mr. Sparks.
Good afternoon. Let's see, is this on?
Just push the button.
There we go. Thank you all for allowing me to come and present what this is. This is a draft of the audit. As you know, our country has gone through a shutdown, and the compliance supplement that we have to use to test the federal programs was not available. So what we did as a firm, we did used the 2024 compliance supplement and checked the procedures, and then we obtained a draft of the 25, but it's not been formally published, and checked the procedures, and we're in good shape. So when it does get officially sent out of Washington, whenever that is, and they get back to work, then we'll check and see if we have to do any more federal procedures. It's not going to change any numbers. It would only be a part of the back report of this audit as it relates to compliances. So I just want to get that point across, because this is different than prior years. One, I want to thank the board for allowing our firm to do the audit this year. Shane and Katie were very helpful in providing this information, and we appreciate their assistance. Neither one of them are here tonight, and then Shane has resigned, I understand. But they were very helpful, and the staff was very helpful in providing us information. The audit, I'm not going to go through all the 90-some pages of audit, but I do want to hit the highlights of the audit. And if there's any question that you all may have, please stop me and I'll address it at this point. So what's important as an auditor is the first letter in your report. And the second paragraph says, in our opinion. This is where we as a firm express opinion on the financial statements. We issued an unmodified opinion, which is a clean report. Means in our testing, we did not find any evidences of fraud or anything like that. If we did, we'd have to add a paragraph and do extra procedures. The second paragraph, or the third paragraph, is emphasis of matter. This year, the governmental accounting standards implemented a new standard that had to be applied to all governmental entities, relating to an estimate of what potentially could be taken as leave, or as you say, you can build up so many days and accrue vacation or accrue sick time, and now you have to estimate it at a different way. And so we had to implement it, and because we have to implement it, you'll see a footnote in the audit called change of accounting principle. The first thing I want to draw to your attention is on page is the MD&A, which is Management Discussion Analysis. If you'll turn to page 6, this is a nice snapshot. It's got 24 and 25 and the change. Of course, as you can see, there was a big decrease in cash between the 2 years, and then you also had an increase in non-current assets, and that is the building of the new school. So what you did, you took bond money and you put it into a new school. That was a transfer of cash. And then anything you see, deferred outflows, deferred inflows, this relates to your pension and OPEB requirement that the state's actuary does each year. They come out and they said, Woodford County has this. It's a potential liability or an asset that the district would have. Now, if every district had to pay it, they'd all be bankrupt, okay? Because it's all underfunded, the pension is. And I'll address that in a few minutes. But overall, you see the liabilities did go down. You had a current year, the payment of some construction payables and also repayment of some debt that was. So that's why the liabilities went down. And then one of the things that you really have to look at, it says total net position. You see it's a negative 378,000. That's not a good sign. If it's increasing, that's a good sign. If it's decreasing, that's a bad sign. So it means you need to watch out. And I think you already know there's some cash flow issues and everything going on. So you need to build that back up and so that doesn't get any worse. The next thing I want to draw to your attention is on page 7. This is also a good snapshot of 24 and 25 comparative of like your revenues and your expenses. And you can see up at the top, one of the things that's a big change this year is you look under federal revenue. As you all know, the ESSER funds are gone. They're not coming back. And that's why the federal revenues went down. It's not coming back. And then if you look down at expenses, one of the big things you see is expenses did go up about $3 million. And a lot of that was in instruction and benefits. So salary and benefits. I think there was a raise given last year, and I think that's some of the consequences of that. If you look at your business type funds, that's mainly your food service. Your local revenues did go up quite a bit, $600,000. That's a good sign. And then the other positive item on your food service was that your expenses were held down, and that's good. So the food service is in pretty good shape. If you look on page 8, and down toward the bottom of the page, this is another snapshot of the revenues and expenses under a different method of accounting. I won't get into too technical with that, but the 25 is here, and if you turn on the next page is the 24, and so you've got a comparative between the 2 years. So there's not much going on there. The next thing I want to draw to your attention is if you turn to page 15. Page 15 is a statement that has your general fund, your special revenue, your construction fund, and other major governmental funds. The other governmental funds will change each and every year depending upon how much money they have, how much revenue they have, which would elevate them to be a major program, and then they would be presented in a column by themselves. But this year, if you can look at one of the major things to watch out for, look at the third line from the bottom. It says net change in fund balance. The general fund had a negative 2.8 million. Special revenue was 35,000. Construction was 17 million negative. Of course, that's natural because you're spending the money to buy the new school or build the new school. And then the other non-major governmental was 98,000. And on the back of the audit, on page 75 and 76, is the detail of what these non-major programs are, if you wanted to see what they are. Let's see. After that, the next part of your audit is the notes, which are pretty standard each year. We do have to, anytime there's a new accounting implementation, we have to disclose that, and that's one of the big parts of your notes this year. But other than that, just want to point out on page 35, if you'll look, this is your capital assets. And your capital assets at the top of the page, if you look under construction in progress, you'll see addition of $17.9 million. And of course, that's the new school. That's the biggest highlight there. And then if you turn over on page 38, I just want to point out that if you look at the middle of the page, it says bonds. You had an ending balance of $78 million. And of course, most of that is from the new school. The other thing I want to point out to you, if you look under the new accounting standard, this compensated absences, that's what it's called now, not accrued payroll or anything like that. It's called compensated absences. You'll see the addition, you see that 1.4 million. That's the impact that new standard is on all the districts we audited. It was huge because now you have a larger estimation of how much leave will be paid out at some point in time. Doesn't mean it's going to be next year, but when you look at all your employees and you take an estimate of how much they've accumulated and when they take it, so now it's got to be shown. If you go to page 43, and I don't get too much into this, but these retirement, you know, you have pension retirement, and you also have OPEB, which is other pension employee benefits. The state actuary does all this. We just take their numbers of the big thick report that they have and just put it in your audit. But just for a disclosure, if you look on page 53, the district's liability for their CERS pension was $15,300,000. And then if you go to page 53, your OPEB liability was $6.4 million. As you can see, if all districts had to pay this amount of money as of June 30, you know, it's not going to happen. So the state is trying to take measures to get the pension funded, you know, in a similar manner, and it has done better than it has in the past. I do want to point out to board members and maybe new board members, on page 63, note number 14, on behalf payments. What this means is the state pays funds for Woodford County at that level. They don't flow through Woodford County. So you'll never see those resources coming in here or those expenses coming in here, but the impact of it has to be reflected in your audit. So you can see this year, $12 million, well, really $24 million was paid at the state level for Woodford County. On page 64, this note number 17, change in accounting principle. This is what the impact of that new accounting standard is GASB 101 had on your financials. And we had to restate the prior year and then put in the current year. So that's why it was such a big deal. And then if you go into the audit, you have in the back, you've got some RSI, which is required supplemental information required by the pension and the OPEB actuary has to be presented. And then on page 75, 76 are the non-major programs. Basically, your district activity fund and your student activity fund make up a big portion of that. The next part back in the back is the schools. On page 77, you have where each of your schools stand at the end of the year. Your high school and your middle school are in pretty good shape. The elementary schools, there's not that much activity really happens at that level. Most of it is at your high school and your middle school. And then on page 78 and 79, we're required to test what's called the Red Book standards. And it's called Red Book. At one point in time, it used to be a Red Book, but now it's not. And what we have to do is check that the student activity funds are in compliance with those procedures. And one of the big things we have to do for high schools is make sure there's no deficit balances in a fund. That means, you know, a sponsor cannot overspend their fund, and there wasn't any. That's the good news. Your level of your federal funds are on page 80 and 81. If you, on the back on page 81, let's see, where is that? Oh, yeah. You can see it's called Education Stabilization Fund, 101,000. That is the ESSER monies that are gone. So you had until September the 30th of 2024 to get all that money either obligated or spent, and you all did. We didn't have any federal findings, which is good, that we know so far. We haven't got the final compliance supplement. But we did have a state level finding, and it's on page 89. We found that the district did not publish the annual financial statement or budget in the local newspaper. There again, in this day and age, you know, whether something is online or in paper is still, per KDE, has to be in paper. So I talked to Dr. Rayburn and told him, you know, our thoughts on for compliances, what could be in compliance in that, and I think he has a good understanding. The other item that we had is on page 92. We have what's called management comments. A management comment is not a finding, but it's something that could elevate to a finding if not addressed. So at the board level, we had 2 instances where the purchase order was written after the invoice. This is a budgetary control. You know, you got to have that PO so you know how much of the budget is going out for that invoice, not the opposite way around. That'll get you in bad trouble. And then also at the board level, we had an issue with when we were testing payroll. We noticed several certified employees were paid for hours outside of their contracted hours. What that means is it was approved by the board, but the single salary schedule was not updated. It is now updated at this current time, but at the time we tested it, it was not updated. But those hours had been approved by the board, but it just wasn't in the single salary schedule, which is what we have to go by when we test payroll. And then at Hunter Elementary, we did some testing, and there was multiple invoices that we couldn't find an approval or a check number on the invoice, and that's not good. I found a typo as going through this, and there again, this is a draft, so a final one will be issued when we get the federal government's go-ahead. But anytime you have an invoice, you've got to have approval, and there should be documentation of what check paid that. So that was on page 92. And then the good thing is the prior year findings, let's see, the status of the prior year findings, we still have an issue with the purchase order, but the high school has been cleaned up. We did not find any evidences of that as a repeat finding. So as I talked to Shane and Katie, I told them that we would, and we're doing this for all our districts, we are presenting the draft, and when we get final approval from Washington on the OMB compliance supplement, if there's no change, we're done. But if it says now you have to check for this, then we'll follow up and check for that. So we don't anticipate any changes in any numbers. There just may be a potential finding, which will be noted in the back of an audit. So everybody's in the same boat in the state of Kentucky. KDE's already sent out their announcements concerning their audits, and you can't submit anything in. You can send in the final AFR, and it can be checked, but you cannot send in the audit. it's a lot of information.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for the work that you do. I know that that is a lot, and that was 98 pages. So we really appreciate everything that you put into it. You started out saying that you didn't find any fraud, any mismanagement. Obviously, you did note some procedural things that we
Yes.
need to clean up, we need to
Yes.
focus on. I'm sure Dr. Jones is going to be on top of that. And so I really appreciate you identifying those and sharing it.
Thank you.
We obviously know about the revenue and expenses that we are also tackling with the budget committee and are going to have multiple conversations on that as
Yeah.
well. So, you had good news and you had things
Well-
we can
well,
improve on. So I
yeah.
appreciate you being very transparent with us.
And you all are not the only district that's run into this type of issue. Talk to Dr. Jones and I let her know that, we've encountered other districts where you kind of get hooked on this ESSER money and then the cliff comes and you got to transition. Well, it takes time to transition all those new employees that you added and their employee benefits and just, So, but once you do, you'll do good. You'll get it transitioned. So, any questions?
Does anybody have any?
I did have a couple things I just wanted to kind of
Okay.
look at. So on page 9, obviously I'm concerned about all the parentheses, which are deficits throughout the report. But on page 9, at the very bottom, it says general fund budget compared to actual revenue varied from line item to line item, with ending actual revenues being $2,390,491 more than budget. General fund budget compared to actual expenditures varied from line item to line item, with ending actual expenditures being $3,106,085 more than budget. And so I guess, I have said it during the budgeting sessions that when our revenues in the budget are off by millions and our expenses in the budget are off by millions, it's impossible for the board to provide any real oversight when the numbers are just that off. Then the last thing is the total general revenue for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025 before interfund transfers was $47 million, an increase of $3.1 million from the total revenues for 2024. So does that mean that we took in $2.3 million more in revenue than what we had budgeted?
No. So, the difference between page 8 and page 9, if you look under intergovernmental state.
On page 8?
Yeah, on 8, you see it's 22,270 under the general fund, 22,279,000. And then if you look under that same line item on page 9, it says 20,582. This is where your on behalf payments get posted. So as the state pays more money for you, and you get reflected, it's hard to budget that intergovernmental state because you don't know exactly what the state is going to pay on your behalf by the time you have to adopt a budget. So this really comes in like after the fact for the audit. I am not aware of any district that budgets their on behalf monies, but they have an idea of what it may be. So that on behalf, like I say, never flows
Just a flow
through.
through, yeah.
Yeah, and it flows.
Yeah. And when you go back up to the first line item where it says actual revenues were 2.3 million more than the budget, so does that mean that we had 2.3 million more in revenue for that fiscal year?
What page are you on, please?
Just 9, the first sentence there.
Oh. Well, if you look at on page 17, on page 17 and page 18 is the actual comparative of the budget that you adopted, any changes. So you have the original budget that the board adopts, and then you have any amendments that may have taken place during the year. That's the final. And then the actual numbers is what we audited, and the variance, that's the column. There's where your issues are. So if you look, like I say, under your expenditures, most of them are negative, and like I say, when we did our testing, we found that they were the negative happened because of employee wages and their related benefits. It through everything. So, in reading the minutes, there was an increase given last year that was part of that impact.
Sure.
And then also the transition of no ESSER monies, so the general fund had to pick up any transition of any employees that were in the special revenue fund. You know,
Right, and that was to be expected. I think everyone knew that the almost 7 million in ESSER funds was one-time money for the pandemic, and so you could plan that that would not be reoccurring revenue. Yeah.
And the payroll and benefits was the big impact there,
Yeah,
like you mentioned.
payroll and benefits.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, when you add your pension, your OPEB, your, health insurance, life insurance, I mean, it's, quite a bit.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And then on page 63, note 12, just says, the food service fund reports a deficit fund balance of 1.1 million at the end of June 30th, 2025. Daycare reports a deficit fund balance of 42,000 as of June 30th. The other funds had operations that resulted in a current year deficit after transfers and other funding sources, resulting in the reductions of the fund balance. So I guess my question is, we've never really heard about these funds ending in a deficit balance.
Well, you have to remember, this year you had the implementation of GASB 101. And so what that is, for the food service, you have to show on their financial statements this accrued pension, OPEB, but you don't have to do that for the general fund. So that's why every school district we audit in their food services deficits, because you don't plan on funding your pension liability. So that's why this says deficit fund balance of 1.1 million. A lot of that is the implementation of all this new estimated funds that's gonna have to be paid at some point in time, and the payment of pension and OPEB. So it's not like the food service incurred a deficit in cash, but for accounting purposes, they had a deficit.
So we've had an additional liability added to it that
Exactly.
we didn't have before that shows long-term pension leave
Yes.
information, so it just automatically knocked everything.
And
Yes.
is that the same on the community service fund and the general fund?
No. So the general fund, the community service fund, they actually did operate at a deficit. I mean, there was a deficit
So
there.
there's a real deficit there.
And that
Okay.
was related to the primarily, I can't say in totally, but wages, employee benefits.
Okay, so those were deficits.
Yeah.
Just the
Just-
food service
yeah.
fund is just on
Food service and
paper.
daycare, those are treated as proprietary funds, and they are required to reflect pension liabilities, that deferred inflows and deferred outflows, all that actuary monies that they report has to be reported on those two funds, because they are, under accounting terms, proprietary, which is like a business.
Is there double dipping? Like, for example, if it's counted there, it's not counted over with the massive
No.
sum of.
No.
So their employees are separated out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's not showing.
That's
yeah.
right. So you only have like your food service and your daycare, they would only be subject to CERS and not KTRS, and that's your certified employees.
Gotcha. I did have a question about the Huntertown Red Book issue. Is that related to school funds directly, or is that related to like PTO or any other?
School funds.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the PTO does not have to be tested by us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have questions for Mr. Sparks?
Thank you for coming this evening.
If you all do have any questions, you got my email, please send me an email and I will respond as soon as I can.
Yeah,
I-
sorry,
Oh,
I was
is
just
it-
gonna ask, do you know an estimated time of the federal government releasing the updates?
I do not know the federal government side. KDE has said if the district wants an extension, it has to be in writing and submitted to them by December the 1st. But their audit is not due until December the 31st. Well, that's all contingent if the Washington submits this case. I mean, so they've been on, 45 days? The last thing on their plate is to deal with the OMB compliance supplement. In our office, we're saying, it may be January before they finally publish it, and then we can do a final, and then KD would have to change. But the audit is basically done. We're just waiting on to see if they add any.
Just
new-
in case there's
Yes,
a change. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
And I was just gonna ask if we could have a hard copy of the report, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't know if
well,
now or when it's final.
Yes, when it's
At some
final,
point.
we'll be issuing a I just, like I say, there's a few little typos that I found that they'll be cleaned up, and, but this is the draft.
Yeah, that's fine. It was good to save paper for the draft.
Yeah.
When we get the final version.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for all
Thank
the work.
you.
All right, next we are going into the new high school project update, and Dr. Rayburn's going to present. Oh, you're right. Thank you so much. We did have motion.
So I guess we did have a motion in a second.
Yes, yes.
Are we voting on a draft
Approving-
audit, or, because it's not final yet, so do we really vote on it?
I would recommend approving the draft
The
budget
draft version.
or draft audit that you receive pending any changes, then we can revisit the final one.
Yes. Do we, yeah, so let's do that. Let's go ahead and vote on it as is, and then if we get a change on the final version, we'll have to vote on approval of that as well. All right, so we had a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you for calling that out. All right, now Dr. Jones? I'm sorry, Dr. Rayburn. There you go.
Did we get the votes for the discussion on this one? The discussion? Did we get the, never mind. All right, so tonight, we don't have much to report on the new high school. Tomorrow, we walk through the high school with the architects and everybody else to do a final one-year punch list. That's part of the procedures that they walk through the building, and they make sure that everything is done before we hit our 1 year mark, so that we can make sure all of the stuff that was said they were going to finish is finished. So we walk through tomorrow with the architects and some other people. We are experiencing some boiler issues at the high school that we are currently working with the manufacturer and with CMTA on to address those issues. There's long emails and threads that I've been exposed to the last few weeks, and we are actively working with them to figure out the solution. It's kind of pointing fingers at this moment, but we are actively working to resolve those. So we are recognizing that the boilers at the high school are not functioning properly. They are functioning. We just have to go reset them. Every time below 32 degrees, we have to go reset the boilers so that the heat works in the building. But the heat does work. We just have to reset it. And then the other thing that we have going on is the parking lot on discussion. So we did get quotes back. They're ranging from about $60,000 for the first quote to add the 100 parking lots to $62,000. They had some alternates on that one, which would include the first one, and then $121,000 for that additional 100 parking spots. At this time, Dr. Jones and I are discussing it. We're not recommending any changes happening. We want to kind of see where this project's going to lie before we recommend any additional changes to that. And as far as the spring box goes, we have taken it to basically gotten some second opinions on it, and they're agreeing with us to just kind of wait and see what happens in the spring, to see if it's going to bubble up and to cause us any issues, and then we can reevaluate in the spring. So it will probably close out the project without, if we can get it all done, the project completed, we will probably close the project without completing the spring box in the project construction funds, and if we need to look for additional funds to do that. We are working with community partners, though, on grant writing to address it if needed. The government shutdown kind of prevented talks from happening, but once the government opened back up, we were able to talk with some local community members to help us find funds to support that through through some funds that they have available to us. So that's our goal, to not have to pay for it. So any questions that you all have?
Did the construction companies, did they ever own their part of it? Like, whatever happened to the communication with them about reducing the costs? Like, I guess my concern is if we close out the project and if they were by happenstance to come back and say, oh, we'll take off whatever fee, or we acknowledge our role in this, and then we have closed it out, do we have access? Like, I'm afraid if we close that door, will it open back up again? And I do appreciate the grant writing. I think that that's a marvelous idea. I still am kind of hung up on the fact that I do think they have some ownership in it. I also am very concerned about the boiler situation, that we're paying someone to go out there, I'm presuming by the hour, to turn that back on. What happens if our pipes freeze in that school? We can have, I'm sure that we're taking care of it, but it just seems like a brand new school. We shouldn't be having these complications. So I'm just curious if the ongoing conversation with them has resolved any of that, if you could give an update.
Do you want to do one at a time? Talk about answer the Springboks question first.
Sorry, I just knocked it all in there
Yeah.
all together.
Go ahead, Dr.
So our water conservation board and experts are also seeing, they really question whether it really is truly an issue after they've reviewed it. And so they said we really need to wait until spring to see whether or not that is truly a concern. But they've looked at it, and they are saying they really do not think, and they've studied all the maps, all the geological maps and everything, and they are weighing in and saying they really do not see it as a major as a concern, really. But we're waiting till spring to do a more invasive exploration of that once we start seeing that water flow again. The other thing is the Trace Creek did say that they would waive the KDE funds if we decided to go the other route. Our architect firm did not.
Nope, that's backwards.
Oh, sorry.
Ross Tarrant said they would waive the fee. Trace Creek did not.
Oh, I thought it
Michael
was
Hughes
the
said he would.
opposite. Travis, I thought, said that they would waive the fee, the construction,
Yeah.
the KDE fee. We'll look at that. And,
Yeah.
But as far as the other entities, they have not had taken. And we did meet, Josh and I met with, or Dr. Rayburn and I met with all four of them. And so the other groups did not take any ownership of that. And so that's where we are. We are in a heated conversation, and we are in the process of nailing that down. Right now it's currently the root cause we're looking at. It's either a manufacturer, or it is they're looking at electrical as well. So we're looking to make sure that we pinpoint the root cause, and then I am aggressively pursuing that.
And when she says
thank
aggressively,
you.
she is meaning aggressively. Our 1 year does not start, according to them, until we have this resolved. So even once it's done, this has not been completed, so that this does not impact our 1 year, according to them. So our 1 year warranty.
And
So-
even with the boiler system, I am in that building. When they turn it back on, it works. The heat system works in that building.
You can vouch for it.
Yes. The math teachers have to open windows because it gets too hot sometimes in 30-degree weather. So it does work when it gets turned back on. It is a good system. It just
It's
just
safety
sticky.
mechanisms that when moisture levels, it's really complex, and so we're trying to figure out. Our experts in CMTA has been great about coming out, trying to figure out what the root cause is, and then that's where I get to advocate once we know what the root cause is.
But your children are warm in the building.
Yeah.
I'm sweating.
Thank you for that
I am
validation.
Yes,
No
I am
frosty
sweating in
faces.
sweatpants.
So,
I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to say, is this related to the issue that was brought up previously when we were talking about the condensation? So this has
Yes,
been
it
going for a
is.
little bit. Okay.
Yes,
I just
it
want to
is.
make sure it wasn't two separate issues.
They're
Thank you for
all
working on
related.
that, both of you.
Yep.
And I was just going to add that, this has been an issue, an ongoing issue, month after month after month. And, it was a very expensive school. I'm sure the system cost, bukus of dollars. I was just wondering if we could, at some point, get kind of a history of here's what happened, here's kind of what it cost, here's the, times that there were, issues brought to the board or issues brought to the company, and here's kind of, how we, sort of a history of kind of how we got here, because it is kind of a major issue. And really, same thing on the parking lot. I mean, I think from before the school was even built, we had board members saying, no, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like enough parking. Can we look at that? And so, of course, here we are, and, it turns out that there is that issue. So hopefully that'll be something we can hear about at some point and see about moving forward or having some options, that kind of thing. At this point, where is the contingency, like number-wise?
It hasn't changed since our last report. We haven't dipped into our contingency, so I'm not 100% sure what Mr. Smith said, but it's still within that. I think he said around $800,000 mark. I don't 100% know that one off the top of my head, but I feel like that's what he said in our last meeting. We have not dipped into our contingency fund to pay for anything this month.
So is there a reason why we're not moving forward with the parking lot at 60 to 62,000 versus I could say 121 is pretty high, but 60 to 62,000, is there a reason why we decided not to move forward with that?
I am recommending to you that we wait, especially with winter. You typically you want to wait until, like, especially with gravel, you want to make sure that the ground temperatures are correct. But also, I think the board needs to know, the actual accurate, once the bills are paid, what's left in that fund, and I feel like you can make a better decision based on that.
It's not going away permanently. It's just tabled for now.
Right now.
We're just
Okay,
tabling.
sorry, I misunderstood that. I thought it was
Yeah.
done, so thank
Yeah.
you.
And I'll say this too, I've actually talked to several, Ms. Springate, I've talked to several superintendents who've recently, had new constructions, and they are seeing the exact same trends in terms of either manufacturing or in some cases it might be electrical or design, just depending on what the situation is. And so it's not just isolated to us. I've talked with actually 3 other superintendents who have recently completed major building projects, and it's certainly not what we want to see, but I have to pursue it and make sure that it gets resolved as the superintendent.
Thank you for aggressively pursuing those solutions.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Jones,
Yeah.
because you inherited all of this. I mean, really, the school was done last December, and I appreciate you, it is what it is. It's here now. We have to deal with it, so.
Any other questions for Dr. Rayburn on the new high school update? All right, thank you. Next, we will move into our curriculum and instruction update with Mr. Asher. And congratulations again on your award, sir.
Dr. Rayburn, is there a trick here? There we go. There we go. All right, I'm going to report on 3 main things. 1, just an update as related to our overall strategic planning. 2 will be the 2 items that I have on the agenda tonight, just so I can explain some more details and context to that. So as you're aware, and Dr. Jones mentioned earlier, we're going through a strategic planning process with Studer, which is, and I just want to put this visual to it, which is the umbrella for all systems, operations, everything to do with Woodford County Public Schools. We are continuing, especially on the curriculum instruction and technology side of things, with our Paths to the Portrait. And so we will continue. We've dropped the term strategic plan for these just to avoid confusion with up top, but we are continuing with our Paths to the Portrait plan. And so these are just little snips here. We have activities and strategies within the 25-26 school year that we are making progress on. Actually, at our admin meeting tomorrow with our principals, we'll be doing some progress monitoring on those. It is also coming up CDIP time and CSIP. Actually, we're in the throes of that. And as on a related note, the public release of school accountability, KSA, is actually the 19th. So that's coming up. We'll be able to report on that some in December, but also we'll be tying that in and relevant to the CDIP process and where we are going with that. So just some clarity on that, not going away from what we had as strategic plan with our portrait work. We will continue with that, just it is underneath the umbrella of the strategic plan. Any questions, comments on that part?
May I interject?
Please.
Sorry. I also wanted to mention, I think it was mentioned earlier that there's a new process. It's an updated process with KDE in order for any board member or anyone to see data before it's publicly released, that there are two non-disclosure forms. And if you would like to discuss the data before the public release, we will get you with Miss Susan Tracy, and we'll be able to look at that if you'd like to do that.
All right, the second thing I want to talk about was to give an overview on our migrant education program due to the staffing request on the agenda tonight. So if you look at the left-hand side, migrant education program, oftentimes shortened to MEP. There is our current MEP enrollment, 106 school age enrolled students, and then also the program serves birth all the way to 21, and so there are a handful of folks there, students there, 18 total, so a grand total of 124. That little note there, the asterisk at the bottom, it's oftentimes confused for it, but migrant is not the same as ELL, although as it says there, 74% are identified in both categories. So the point there is those two programs of EL and migrant often work together closely. How it is distributed across the state, we are in the southern region, so we are our governing body, whatever you want to say, is out of Madison County at EKU. That's where it says it down there in the lower right-hand side. We are a standalone program because of our numbers, and with more numbers, that increases the funding, as I'll go on to the next one here. It's a federally funded program. It is a subsidy of Title I. It's Title I Part C. That we get the funding for. The mission is to provide services and alleviates barriers to successful academic achievement. So that can be a variety of things. And I'll explain more when we get to services provided down there. Eligibility is, as I mentioned, children up to age 21. If they moved across district, county, or state boundaries for the purpose of seeking or obtaining temporary or seasonal work in agriculture. I stopped there because we don't really have commercial fishing activities, but as you can imagine, we do have qualifying ag activities in our county. So the services provided are academic first. I'll note right there, one-on-one or small group tutoring is the purpose of the request for the additional instructional assistant. And then you'll see some other services provided there, and then on down into supportive services. Everything from referrals for healthcare to translation services, and then certainly an adult ed and GED preparation. So this program also works with our adult ed in that regard. Finally, I just want to shout out to them. We had just yesterday, this is the second time for this, second annual, a collaboration with Kingsway Church. And as I mentioned here, our MEP team members are responsible contributors. Yesenia Flores is the coordinator. She's probably in her fourth year with us. We've really gained some stability in our staffing there. Nabit Flores is the recruiter, which is a specific position just for that, because what this takes is going out on site, going to farms, going to local groceries, restaurants, things like that to recruit folks. Obviously, this is meant because they are a transient population, but here, this is how we can help remove barriers to academic success for your children. And then recently transferred over, as we've had one instructional assistant position, Monica Cheney. She's transferred over. She was working at Simmons Elementary and is now with this program. As I answered some questions to Ms. Gould earlier, this would give us a second instructional position and would allow us to then focus one at the elementary level and one at the secondary level. It is it's grant money. We use it or lose it. And we actually increased, I think the figure I gave you from last year, $134,000 more than what we had before, because they're recruiting more, getting more numbers in the program. So it's money that we have to spend. So that is that request. Any questions as related to migrant MEP or the request?
Just a clarification real quick. There was no gap in services during the shutdown, right? Because this was federally funded, right?
Yeah.
Title I,
No,
Part C.
not.
There was no gap in services to our
No.
migrant population.
No, right there at the beginning, a little bit of worry, but that didn't last very long, and there were no gaps in services.
Perfect. Thank you.
We had to put a hold on a couple resource type purchases, but the staffing remained.
Can I ask a question about the request for the position or
Uh-huh.
the staffing? So it is grant funded. So if something were to happen with the level of grant, let's just say for some reason it was to go down, I mean, that this position would be like
Yeah,
a
we'd
federally
have to
funded,
eliminate it.
time limited. Okay.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah,
wanted
we'd
to
have
check.
to, we just wouldn't fill it. So
That was a question I had that Mr. Asher answered. I also had questions about whether or not that if it would serve the entirety of the population versus like cause a deficit in one area versus another, and he answered my question. So I appreciate that very much.
I mean, when you get 124,000 more, that's kind of hard to spend. And staffing is a good way to do that, and it's obviously needed due to our numbers.
And it's great that you'll be able to serve more schools, it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like, with that too, so.
The second thing that is on the agenda, and let me walk you through this, it's called the Plan for Promotion of Advanced Coursework and Accelerated Learning. So this was legislation, which the top graphic shows there. This was a guidance document sent out earlier this year. This was House Bill 190. It required school districts to establish policies by grade level. And then, so down there, the next box down, we did adopt a policy in July. It was the standard KSBA policy. And what the policy told us was to do a plan. So a policy to do a plan. And there were certain things that you had to follow, once again, by December 1st. So what I've put on for approval or first reading is that plan for promotion. There are 3 plan requirements. Dr. Gould had some questions on this, and please note that this is not gifted only. So it is advanced coursework. The purpose of it is that it's offered to a wider range of students. And the next slide I'm going to show you is how it works and some benefits we have seen since doing this. So put the plan together. The good news was in our district, and I had gone to some sessions, some work sessions on this, we had everything in place, quite honestly. All we had to do was put it in one articulated plan. So when I say everything in place, a GT, primary talent pool starting at the younger grades to advanced coursework, advanced courses even at middle school, flexible grouping opportunities at elementary, and then of course you get up to high school and your AP, dual credit, and advanced courses up there. So the good news is we had everything, just had to put it together. One core example, and we've looked at this in several meetings, the high school looked at it with their site base. This is actually a strategy that came from our Equity Action Plan way back in 2019. And what that strategy was to, if you'll see the box over to the right, WCHS revised their policy, and not only to AP, but just advanced courses overall. And what they did, and we had talked about this a while back, but what it did, and I will point out, students may enroll, the middle section there, the middle statement, students may enroll in advanced level or College Board advanced placement course if one of the following conditions is met. So that was key change that they made. It used to be multiple, and now if they hit one of those, they're able to enroll. So again, this was in 2019. Some data, current data is, so this is AP, and I'll note the far right column. The one in the middle, let's just take Hispanic, for example. 45 students enrolled, Hispanic students enrolled in AP. Of the total population of AP students, that's 12%, so that's a little discrepant in that we have, well, I shouldn't say this because I don't know the, I know overall we're at about 17% for the district, but I'm not certain at the high school. But of that of the Hispanic population at the high school, 21.2% are enrolled in AP. It is of particular note, and the emphasis on dual credit and the, again, offering to a wider range if you look at this one. If you'll notice, let's stay with Hispanic. Of the Hispanic population, 46% of Hispanic students are in a dual credit. 52%, 53 roundup of African American students are enrolled in dual credit. So they are even at a higher clip, higher percentage proportionately than white students at this point, which is at 45%. So from that time in 2019, that policy change has now opened it up, right? That we are getting more and more minority, and if you even go down beyond race and ethnicity, you'll see the same thing there with free and reduced, with ELL, with IEP students. that are able to not only take AP, but at a higher rate dual credit. So sometimes you got to stop and smell the roses and see the results of hard work that you've done. Again, we've talked about Equity Action Plan for quite some time, and people are like, well, what are we doing? Well, this is what we're doing. And here's evidence of that 6 years later. So my point is this, the advanced level promotion, whatever it's called, is on the agenda tonight for the first reading, and I'll take any questions you might have on that.
Do you have follow-up questions? I think this is wonderful, and I think the numbers speak for itself, and I'm super excited to see those numbers and how we're ahead of the curve from the legislation and that sort of things that have passed in recent years related to this. I would like to see the middle school follow suit, because I know we're still requiring signatures from parents, guardians for some of the advanced placement classes. And or leadership kind of oriented coursework. And so I know that some of that coursework may be more specialized and maybe needs some more engagement and conversation, make sure the students are right fit for that, to make sure they're successful. But I do think the barrier also comes with the signature required from the parent. And so I just, on the flip side of that, I would like to see more engagement with parents and caregivers around gifted and talented advanced level identification. You know, this whole category that we're talking about, like you said, not just gifted and talented, but widening that pool, but also like having clear communication about what services are being provided to meet those needs, and a conversation ongoing with parents and caregivers around that. Similar to, dare I say, a 504 IEP kind of conversation, because I do think that sometimes parents, caregivers are at kind of a loss of how exactly are their students' needs being met once they're identified. Like, I know that the paper comes home, they're identified, there's testing that gets approved and that sort of thing, and permission for that testing has to happen, which is, I think it's good to have that conversation with parents, but that ongoing consideration of, this is how my child who has been identified, this is how their needs are being met, be it gifted and talented or the tiers that you were talking about previously. So those are the two things that are like my main concern in regards to this, just that ongoing communication, but also mirroring this process at the middle school level so students can start that process earlier on if possible.
Okay, I will take that feedback and consult with our gifted and talented district coordinator. She regularly meets with the school level contacts for that, coordinators, I should say.
I have a quick question. I mean, are you going to be covering more in depth about the advanced coursework at APs tonight, or is this just like the only moment we're talking about it? Because if so, I have some questions.
You can ask questions.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So this has been like a concern through like the sophomores at the high school. Since we have taken, at least from what I've heard, we have taken away Woodford County providing the ACT for sophomores. I just want to make sure I'm correct when I say this. Yes, that is correct.
Can I go ahead and answer that?
Yes.
It's because the state changed the rule. We are no longer giving ACT. We're actually switching to SAT. That was up in the air, for lack of a better term, for several months as the vendors, Pearson, I believe it was appealing that decision. Just went through, how long ago was it official? Like a month ago? So we were in limbo, that we couldn't commit to either side. And so once that came through, Ms. Tracy there was just at the training today with KDE about SAT. And so students had the opportunity to take PSAT, but that's a major overhaul switch for the state of Kentucky that we're switching to SAT.
Right, which I fully support that. I think the SAT, I mean, I've taken the PSAT and I loved it a lot more than the ACT, just because the way I test, I preferred it. But my only concern was, or at least a lot of sophomores' concerns were, following into dual credit and AP classes. I know AP wasn't as rigorous, but dual credit is. You had to have a certain 3-point, I think it's a 3-point something. I don't want to quote me exactly because I don't know the exact number, but it's a 3-point something, or you had to have a specific ACT score to get into dual credit classes. So I know some students that were wanting to go in as juniors next year who cannot take the ACT in the spring were worried about how they were going to get into dual credit classes because they didn't have the certain 3.0 something GPA, and they wanted to take the college class.
So a lot of those, all of those requirements comes from the university.
Yeah.
Whether it's a grade point average or ACT, they're going to have to shift now. If students aren't going to have an ACT score, they're going to have to shift, as
Okay.
the entire state is, to SAT. So I'm not aware of any conversations just yet. I know that they know of the change, higher ed, so they will just have to shift because it's changed. The rules have changed for the whole state.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
I will say too, I think that when you talk with your high schoolers, it's important to realize that some of those dual credit classes go with you and affect your higher ed track GPA. So it's always important to figure out, that's great if you want to take it, but just be prepared that that could also impact your GPA whenever you transfer that credit in. The other thing to keep in mind too is that some schools are starting to do away completely with the college entrance platform exams and that sort of thing. So that might be something that shifts, and we need to keep our finger on the pulse around that too.
Ms. Tracy was bringing up, because normal, when you referenced our sophomores taking ACT, we want to get back in that practice with SAT, but just being in limbo, we weren't, like, you had to commit way earlier than the decision was made. So moving forward next year, we'll look to put that back into place to where you get 2 opportunities at the school to take SAT. It was just unfortunate we were, stuck with the decision.
Okay, thank you so much.
And then I did just want to say, I always appreciate like when the board is kind of ahead of the game and wanted to be more inclusive and change some of those rules. And I loved seeing the data for that. It makes me feel really happy. And I know the law is going to require us to put this plan in place and have the reading tonight. But I'm wondering, what about the K through 3? Like, is there any way to kind of address them also and make them part of
The law it says 4
Requires.
through 12.
Right.
So K through 3 you follow, and for whatever reason you weren't to include it. The law says specifically 4 through 12. But I mean, there still are opportunities there with primary talent pool. That focuses on K through 3. That's a separate law, different regulations that you have to follow. It just wasn't called for in this specific plan for whatever reason.
Well, could we go and be a little more inclusive and do some of the things that we're doing for the 4th through 12th graders for the K through 3 also? Just
We do
a
do
good
those
job.
things. I'm just saying the format of the plan, here's what the law requires.
It's
4 through 12, this is how you write the plan. So we simply just didn't go below that because that's not what the law called for whatever reason.
Yeah, I understand. I was just kind of thinking maybe we could get ahead of the curve, and maybe we're already doing some things before the law was required for our entire population, K through 12. So I didn't know if there was some opportunity to also be able to do some of the things with that group too. But I understand the law is 4
I can look
through
into
12.
that.
Yeah.
Anything else for Mr. Asher?
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Asher. All right. We do not have any public comment. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. All those any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. Can I have a motion to accept notification of personnel matters?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October board meeting?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to accept notification of payment of bills?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-1. Can I have a motion to approve October financial report, treasurer's report?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. And we'll open it up to discussion with Dr. Rayburn presenting.
All right, board, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. I have tried to take that 61-page document and screenshot it for you. And open it up to interpretation as you wish. You will notice, and I do apologize, that there were different reports this month. So for full transparency, Mr. Smith resigned to take a new employment. He resigned on November 11th, and I started on November 12th. Assuming the interim role of this position, just so we all know that, so full transparency, we are working the best we can. We are still going. And so the financial reports that were shared with you, the real one that you get is also going to be uploaded to the document. And all of these numbers are coming from the 61-page document that you're used to seeing. The numbers are also on that other report. They're just not in the normal place where you go to look. So for your information, the general fund balance, we had $1.2 million in receipts and $3.5 million in expenditures. And also, what is not noted on this report, because it happened in November, is we did receive our tax check for a little over $18 million from the sheriff's office. So our cash balance is back to a healthy level right before the payroll was due, which is very nice. And so you can see those reports there. And again, this will also be published onto the website, onto the board agenda for you as well to review. And then the total receipts for our Special Revenue Fund 2 balance is $277,000, with our expenditures at $349,000. And so if I put the arrows on there so that you can see the month-to-date reports, you can also look at the budgets and everything. And so this one had a negative, and so did the last month's for general fund. For the total month from receipts to expenditures, they are in a negative, but the total balance and budget is still in a positive, it remains in the positive there. So you have to look at the whole picture there. District activity funds brought in 58. So this is our district activity funds that we have. Fund 21, we spent 71, probably because we received that prior to that. Those funds are not actually in the negative. Those funds are still in the positive, but for the month we spent more than we received. The school activity funds are 158 in the positive for receipts, and then 70 in the expenditures. These are probably because we are doing more field trips now, so we're receiving more field trip funds. That's what our school activity funds and sports fees and everything else that go into those activity fees. There's nothing in the capital outlay 310. The building levy, I don't actually know if he presents on that one, but I gave it to you anyways. Our construction fund is at a negative 955. We had some payments there that we paid out last month. And then our food service, no debt service payments, those were already paid in the last payment. And then our food services account is in the positive 51,000 for the month, which means that I do want to brag that 2 of our schools even are well above their budget. They're actually selling more food. One of those being the high school, from the layout of the high school to allow kids to go and get more food. That is a positive for our food budget. So normally we're in a negative at this point, but Ms. Quires talked to me about it before she is out and mentioned that the high school is operating in the positive, which is a nice thing because of the way the building was designed to encourage kids to go back in and buy more food. And every time I'm there, I buy more food too, so just know. I just pay cash for it. So the daycare fund is in the, from receipts received to expenditures, are in the negative 23,000. Again, but as a whole, it is in the positive. And remember, revenue is normally shows in the negative, depending on which budget you look at. And then community ed fund has just a little bit of money left over in it, and we're trying to spend it as it comes. So there's a little bit there. I thought this was an interesting slide. So this is a different slides presentation than what you've seen. This is our payroll for last month, for October. So our payroll runs us about $4 million for the year, or for the month. And so you can kind of see the breakout down of all the different object codes that are for the payroll. Dr. Jones and I have met to build a dashboard, and we're working with, this is part of the dashboard that's being built out and stuff like that. So these don't represent specific people. These represent specific job codes for people that work in our district. And as a whole, our district is $4 million a month for payroll. And so the cost there is how much we spent at the top versus how much we received at the bottom. So We spent $3 million more than we received. Again, that's because we hadn't received our tax payment. That'll be different for next month when you get your financial report for that one. So I know there's a lot of talk about different budgets and everything, but an object code is based off 0110, and the 01 ones are normally your certified, 012s are normally your classified, and then it kind of breaks down to different things there, and then our deductions that we have to pay are also on there as well. So deductions and payroll cost us about $4 million a month, $2 million twice a month. Any questions that I can answer for you since November 12th?
Yeah, well, more of a comment. I know that, the munis reports are just long and very complicated, and so I just want to thank you in doing the extra steps of kind of breaking this down a little bit, grabbing those screenshots, and putting it in this format. I think that's very helpful, so thank you.
Yeah,
Both of you.
I didn't make up any of these numbers. I just took screenshots of them, so I promise they're on the report.
Yep.
Dr. Jones and I have been reviewing them pretty much every day to make sure we're accurate and understanding. So,
thank you. Anybody else have a question? All right.
I do look forward to our January board meeting, where we can actually get some of the budget reports that you are asking for kind of nailed out, so that we understand what you're asking for, and as a district we can present those in a fashion that you are expecting. So that's coming in our January work session.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so there is a motion right now. All those in favor of approving the October financial report, treasurer's report?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve the hardship request? Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve the migrant education program staffing request?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion, further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve WCPS Advanced Coursework and Accelerated Learning Plan first reading?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. And
I will just reiterate that I would really appreciate if there was language in there that supported conversation more with caregivers and parents around the needs of their children that are being identified. I think that as a gifted and talented parent myself, I think we've had a lot of turnover, and maybe that has led to some of the lack of conversation that I've had with individuals who are in charge of providing gifted and talented services for my child. I've also talked to some other parents who've also shared the same concern. I do know that we are under new leadership in that area, and I do believe that that will change, but I just think that having it for if that turnover continues to happen or something shifts, if we have it in our plan to where parents, caregivers are more involved in that planning process, similar to, again, a 504 or IEP, I do think that that would be really beneficial as well, and pull our parent and caregiver involvement into that process even more to support and to truly understand and to be able to advocate for their child that is being presented in this manner. So I would love to see that added, so it's very clear in that plan. That's the only thing that I really see. I think because there is so many different options of ways that the need could be fulfilled, I think it's really important for parents and caregivers to understand this is exactly what's happening in this situation with my child. This is the choice. Because some of it is very obvious if you're in an AP class or a dual credit class or an advanced language arts class or something of that nature. But to truly understand how your kid's need is being met, I think is incredibly important, especially for those who may not have the chance to be as involved as others. So.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve the reclassification of position?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve Director of Finance job description and title update?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve Chief Operating Officer job description update?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion on that?
I just want to say, I want to thank Dr. Jones for looking at this. It's a cost-saving measure for those of you who are in the audience who may be listening at home, that this is really going to help with that. So that's why it's being shifted out and for other reasons, obviously. So thank you very much for looking at that. That's it. That's all. Just a comment.
Perfect, yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve certified salary schedule amendment for SPED department?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion or questions?
I don't know that I'm clear about what the funding source is.
Okay.
Is it title?
We'll ask Ms. Francis to come up and speak to us.
So that's a good question. The funding source can be anything from IDEA, which covers 3 through 21, or it can be out of the general fund due to maintenance of physical effort, or it can be from my Medicaid budget. It just depends on how we determine to pay specific personnel in order for them to be able to work with and bill Medicaid, and then all that kind of falls into place. There's a lot of pieces there for us.
I guess my only concern would be, I know that there are requirements legally around positions like this one, but not understanding if it's going to come out of general funds, if it's going to be federally funded, and then based on that, we're talking about, we know what we heard in the audit. This is something with our finances that is not a surprise, but I just think that when we are adding positions, then we have to think about, okay, if we're going to add this and that funding is going to come from the general fund, then what are we going to take away? Because we can't keep adding like we have been and have them start out, coming out of this fund, and then it gets transferred to the general fund like it happened with our ESSER dollars. Or we find ourselves kind of in this not good situation. So I don't know.
Do you have anything?
Go ahead.
Do you have any comment on that?
I mean, I don't really know how to respond to
Okay.
that, other than, we all have department heads in different departments, and they fall right in line with having the same opportunity as anyone else leading a department, and they deserve to be paid for that instead of doing extra work at home, just like everyone else is doing and not getting compensated for it. So in the past, I have covered that through limited contracts. I have covered that through all kinds of means trying to compensate that. And over the years, this is where it leads. More work, expectations put on staff. They deserve to be paid for it and compensated for it. So that's just kind of where we're at with it. If you look at it from a general education standpoint and what their opportunities are for those departments, it's the same, should be the same for special education.
And we've seen the trend. I mean, you've come to us with many legally required positions because our numbers are going up and we need that. So, I mean, it makes sense that the work would continue to increase in different areas as well. So,
yeah.
Did you have anything, Dr. Boone?
I just had a question about the Medicaid reimbursement. Is the enactment of the Big Beautiful Bill, is that going to impact, because I know it's impacting a lot of different Medicaid reimbursement rates. So
Well,
just curious if you had any insight on that.
I have no information from the state on that right now or from any other entity that I deal with, so I am unsure of that.
Okay.
That's a good question as well.
All right. Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. Can I have a motion to approve amended salary schedule?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson. I'll second that. Any discussion? Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Is that one? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Ms. Springate. Oh, okay.
I guess I was surprised there was no discussion.
Oh, I called for discussion, but did you? If there's a discussion, we can have it. Yeah.
Well, it would be nice if we had some information.
Yeah, I called for a discussion, but that's fine. Dr. Rayburn, you have something?
Yep, no problem. I'll present to you, just kind of show you what some calculations that have been done related to all the positions that have been changed for your information. These are also on the board agenda item. So the Director of Finance position, depending on the salary range, I put that there between 79 and 114. 30 years of experience would put them at 114. The Chief Operations Officer would be between 84 and 141, depending on rank, because it's a certified position now instead of a classified position, so the rank of the person holding it and the years of experience related to that. And then the special education, depending upon, so that's a daily wage. So it could range from 5 days for $1,145, $1,145, or $2,100. I need to put commas on there. $2,104 based off of the years of experience and the rank of the individual. There are 3 additional positions added to there, and then the VI stipend that was on there, $1,200 to $2,000, and all of those are highlighted in the salary schedule. To note the changes, there was one additional clerical change that I saw in the salary schedule as I was updating this one. First off, I made these larger so that I could read them, and then the Director of Finance is there, and this one said FY26 instead of FY27. The certified and degree programs is pending the next year's budget if it'll be available to us, so that is why I updated that one as well.
Dr. Rayburn, can I make a statement?
Yep.
On your calculation, that's correct if that salary is correct for COO if they are also holding another director position at the same time. If you look at just the additive, correct for COO.
So I did the whole salary range, so like it would be like they take the teacher, because the certified position, director level, whatever's on the certified one is based off of the teacher salary. So you take the rank of the person holding it, it's a certified position, take that rank, divide that salary that they would receive as a teacher by 188 days. That gives you the daily wage of that person. Then you multiply that by 240 days because it's a extended contract. And then you add the additive on top of that. So that is with the additive and the daily rate and everything else. So I compared it what the previous COO position would have cost the district. Pending the changes, it was about $158,000 at 30 years with a doctorate. And if they had that many certifications, as a certified position, it's 141 at the very top of the salary schedule. So just know that that's the difference between the two. And our plan is to reduce one of the director levels that are currently on the salary schedule and not rehire that position. But that will come later as we roll out the new organization charts that Dr. Jones will be presenting whenever she's ready.
And I guess I just wondered if it would make more sense to wait and have the vote to add and change things, like at the same time as we're having a vote that this is the big picture and this is what we're taking away and this is how, because what you're describing makes sense that there would be some taking away later, but I would feel more comfortable like if we could just have all that discussion and have all that at the same time. But do we need to do this now for a certain reason?
The real reason why is if you would like me to continue as the interim, I'm a certified and not a classified, so
Okay.
that would impact that one. And full transparency, we're not hiring a chief information officer. My duties are going to be assuming the chief information officer and the COO position until Dr. Jones is ready to roll out her org chart. At that time, you will have the big picture that we don't understand yet because we're waiting on the strategic plan to be developed, and then her vision for organizational chart will
Okay, well,
roll
thank
out
you
past
for that kind of information, because I had like bits and pieces,
Yeah.
but it wasn't really put together until.
So essentially, you're saving the salary that I currently have. I'm getting a small bump, and then just in the index that would be from a 23 to a 40 as the interim until we are ready. And then, I mean, Dr. Jones could go in and change all the titles and everything as the board sees fit during that time. This is just to hire a finance director. We have to have that. I'm not able to do that and do everything else. So we're going to hire a finance director. We have to have that as a classified position. That person's not going to make the same amount as the previous finance director, but still have a competitive salary that's in range with other districts around us. So that is kind of why we need to approve this tonight.
So we're gonna have the cost savings because we're gonna be able to make these shifts, and then starting out with, you're taking folks with certain certifications and degrees and experience, and then you're gonna get someone who maybe doesn't have as much experience or those sorts of things, so it would be a lesser cost, like hiring a first-year teacher
So
versus
the index for the COO position was a 1.63071.
On the classified.
On the classified salary schedule. The index for the director of finance is a 1.05. So you're saving on your index there, which is impacting, it's a 260-day contract, 8 hours a day. So you're impacting a significant portion. I think between the big picture of things, we're looking between $30,000 to $35,000 a year savings, depending on whoever we hire at the top. If they would come in with 30 years, we're still saving a significant portion of funds right now.
Is that 30 years or a doctorate, or 30 years plus a doctorate?
So I just maxed out the most that we can get, which is 30 years and a doctorate. We don't get 31 years. on our
And
stuff.
just to clarify, when I communicated with the board, I actually showed them the calculation for the 0.4 additive.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I had explained to them rather than the entire salary.
Complete salary.
Yep.
Okay.
So that was a miscommunication between you and me on that one.
Any other questions? All right. So all those in favor of approving the amended salary schedule? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right, motion passes 3-2. Can I have a motion to approve the first reading of the drug test policy?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion?
I had a question that I emailed Dr. Jones, and she answered that question for me. I do think that one section of language is a little bit tricky, just the way that it's grouped together. And what I'm talking about is it's like a student and an employee statement, but when it's read together, it just tripped me up. So I don't know if it would trip, it just may be me, but I do think it is a little bit tricky if we amend that, just to separate it out so it's clear that this is a student, this is an employee. If that makes sense.
Dr. Rayburn?
Here's the proposed reading for the first reading. If a supervisor has reason to believe an employee, not a student, an employee is under the influence or impaired by alcohol or drugs in the workplace, the supervisor may require the employee to undergo alcohol testing by a portable breathalyzer test administered by a WCPS law enforcement officer and or blood urine test administered by a medical facility of the district's choice. Refusal to submit to either such testings may be grounds for disciplinary action, including termination of employment. If the test results confirm the employee was under the influence of alcohol or illegal drugs in the workplace, the employee shall be subject to disciplinary actions, including termination, or may be referred to a treatment program of the district's choice. This is on the classified and the certified language for the same policy. We have two different policies for classified and certified. This is only staff, not students, and as well as medical marijuana that is included in the authorized drugs that is administered to, so it says administered to a student by, if it was to be traced there, but it is really talking about the prescription from a medical professional in that authorized spot there.
And that's the language that I had a question about, the authorized drugs, employees who personally use or who are designated to administer to a student a drug authorized by. I think that's the language that gets tricky because it is talking about administration versus use, a student versus an employee, just making that more clear. And the reason why I asked that is because we are now a medical marijuana providing state, and I just wanted to make sure that we were in accordance with the change in policy from the statewide. But that language did trip me up because I thought it was just related to a student, like it just was confusing, I guess.
This is KSBA language that we have, so all the other districts around us have that same language.
Can we make it clear for our people, or do we have to follow KSBA? Does it matter? I mean, I know our legal representative is not here, so maybe that's a question to follow up on later. But like I said, I just feel like this is something that we're going to be facing as a state as we start to administer medical marijuana cards, and I just don't want us to face backlash of lack of understanding or something of that nature. So I just wanted to make sure it was clear. The other thing that I had a question about that I just noticed, and I apologize, I didn't emailed this earlier. If you'll go back down to maybe refer to a treatment program of the district's choice, I feel like that takes away autonomy in the person who may be paying for this, or maybe their insurance provider. So just making sure that there's some flexibility. If someone is willing to engage in treatment, I don't want us to restrict them in saying, well, you have to go to this specific treatment provider for you to meet those needs. So maybe make instead you must meet these qualifications or something of that nature from the providing
I
partner.
think the difference is that this is all may and not must. So
Okay.
we're not requiring them, but if they don't have a medical facility to go to, we may require them to go to one. May is different than a must.
Which I think it's just the district's choice is what I'm talking about, I guess. It takes away the autonomy in someone to choose and consent to their treatment. So, but again, it's may, so that's different than shall.
And as the superintendent, it's really important to me that I have the option if an employee is suspected of that, and we did not have that in our policy
Yes,
at all.
yeah.
And I'll just say that as the leader, the superintendent, it's important to me that we are able to hold people accountable in
Right.
that regard.
And I'm not trying to take anything away from that. I'm just saying, as far as saying, I think it's different between, and I'm not trying to argue semantics. I have addiction background where I teach this and have provided treatment myself. Been a provider of treatment, not being an addicted person. Just make that clear for the for our newspaper in the back. Just to make sure that language is clear. But where it says may, and that's why I'm harping on this, I guess, is may be referred. I think that that's a completely great language, because we do need to make sure people are supported in that, and that you can hold people accountable. I was just saying the district's choice of treatment program is different. That's the language of autonomy that I was talking about as far as consent to treatment and that sort of thing. Having that, because it's hard enough to go to treatment as it is. I think that it's just important that we work with people if they do decide to go to treatment, or if that's something that is mandated. So again, my social work brain is working here, so that's just.
Can you put the period after the word program?
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe.
I think that's good.
I think that's a great suggestion that clarifies that.
It is the first reading, so there will be another reading.
I was actually surprised that the district didn't have this, because other districts that I've reviewed and worked in did have this. So that was an interesting discovery.
Yes, thank you for facilitating that. And I love the fact that there is an option for treatment in here. I think that is great. It's great language to have.
So on the second reading, this will have those words stricken. I'll be on it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so all those in favor of approving the first reading of the drug test policy?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve facilities rental procedure?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion or questions?
I think
Or
it's
do
a
you want
great
to
use.
Do you have any?
So I just want to clarify that all we are doing to the district agreement is increasing cost and splitting the cost with the people that are reserving our space for outside entities. It still gives us the autonomy to pick and choose what we pay, but it gives us some set prices that were not currently available.
And I will have to say that Dr. Rayburn did a lot of research. He pulled several surrounding.
And we're building a whole system behind rental procedures, so this is just the first step of the system to get this approved so that we can move forward, and forward thinking, not retroactive thinking.
Can I ask a follow-up question? I think this is great. I just wanted to ask about our partnership with Falling Springs. Are they adhering to this rental agreement, or is that a completely separate, different contract?
This would just be for our facilities.
Yeah, this is our facilities.
When they use our facilities, like our middle school, or not middle school, but our elementary school gyms and that sort of thing for recreation basketball.
That is already under a separate contract.
Okay, so they don't have to pay these extra fees. Okay, that's what I was asking.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to approve UK athletic trainer contract?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wilson. I will second that one. Any discussion?
I need to recuse myself.
I guess I'm just wondering, what the impact on resources is, if that's different with this revision, and also where the funds come from to cover the fees.
So this is a.
Is that something we need to include from here on out, this funding
It would be
source?
nice.
Rather than,
Yeah. So this is amending the original contract that we had. We previously had been paying for 3 athletic trainers, and now we are amending it to pay for 2 as a cost-saving mechanism. So that is the only difference. And this is, I wanted to say, we knew that Ms. McCowan had to recuse herself, so that's why it was not in the consent agenda.
And Mr. Morgan's not here tonight, so I can't ask, but should my husband works for UK Healthcare. Do I need to recruit myself? Okay.
I think we ran into that before and you didn't
Yeah,
have to.
I didn't know. I couldn't remember what we ended up doing, so I just wanted to be transparent.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
We have, yep, thank you.
Thank
Motion
you.
by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. All those in
Great job.
favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Good night, everybody.
Thank everybody very much.